Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to the videos. The paid request this time for Bobby. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested requesting any type of videos or topics, reactions, commentaries, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for the 1962 Japanese version of King Kong vs. Godzilla. Now, I had seen this film before. Didn't remember a whole lot about it, to be honest. But pretty much what had happened was Willis O'Brien, who worked on the original King Kong in the 30s, he wanted to do a sequel. And in fact, his idea was King Kong versus Frankenstein, which I always thought was a crappy idea, but, you know, it's a giant monster, happens to be, Frankenstein monster. I don't know. I was kind of a weird, lame idea, but he wanted it done. He wanted to try to get it done. People weren't really hyped on it because the stop motion would be deemed too costly. So one led to another. He met this guy named John Beck, and John Beck then worked with Toho and said, "Hey, would you guys be interested?" And Toho was like, "Wow, yeah, we like King Kong, we respect King Kong. Pair up with Godzilla, so we don't have King Kong vs. Godzilla." Now, John Beck is a bit of a prick because he pushed Willis O'Brien out of the whole deal. So Willis O'Brien didn't really get any money from it, any recognition from it, anything in between, and got screwed over. In fact, I think Willis O'Brien's daughter or something said that frustration kind of led to his passing, his death. Which wouldn't be the first time. It's kind of like Bill Finger for Batman? And then he got pushed out even though he created a bunch of this shit and the other guy took credit for it. He who should not be named. And then so Toho made this King Kong vs. Godzilla. Now, of course, they could not use the actual look of King Kong because Universal owned that. And they could not use... They used like the teeniest of stop motion, but they couldn't use a lot because, again, it would be deemed too costly, so they went with the man in the suit. Now, it's directed by Ishirō Honda, who directed the original Gojira movie. And you also had the same guy doing the composing, the same guy doing the effects, the suit work, and he was a big fan of King Kong. From what I understand, he was going to do another movie, but he canceled it in order to do this movie because King Kong was very influential for him. And then there were two cuts of the film, because once the film was made, part of the deal was John Beck could get the film and do his own American version. Just like Gojira had Godzilla King of the Monsters with Raymond Burr. Here he'd do his American version where he would re-edit some scenes, cut some scenes. He would change the music to more of library music, including some music from Creature from the Black Lagoon. Which was stupid because the musical score is actually rather good in the Japanese version, so why the hell you would mess with that, I have no idea. And then on top of that, he would add in a few American people, more... So this UN reporter, and most is done like a news broadcast, and then this other guy who's kind of, well, King Kong is this, and Godzilla is this. A lot of explanatory shit. The American version of this kind of sucks. It's much better to watch the Japanese version because it feels more of a cohesive story. It doesn't feel like the story just stops for these useless, pointless, explanatory scenes that don't need to be explained. So of the two, definitely watch the Japanese version. And the setup is there's this advertising staff. And one of the things they have is a science TV show, but it has low, crappy ratings. So we need to find a way to boost this up. And apparently it was trying to be a take on how people view ratings as so much importance and to try to take take the piss out of it. So the head guy's like, we need hey, we heard there's this monster on this island, go explore it, and if you find it, it'll be our mascot, we'll boost the ratings. Which I know is a very weird plot, but it's meant to be the case to just didn't take the piss out of that stuff, to use these large monsters for advertising. Although the way people are nowadays, they probably would be stupid enough to do that. Now, I didn't mind the two guys that are hired to go to this island. I thought they had a decent rapport with each other. They had a decent back and forth with each other. The lead guy is Tadao Takashima. I knew I recognized him. I mean, I've seen this film before, but it's been a while. But he was in a film I watched more so among the Godzilla regime, and that was Son of Godzilla. Because I guess before I go on, Godzilla for me, I didn't grow up with it as a kid as much as other people. Really, the only one I saw the most as a kid was Godzilla vs. Megalon. Because it seemed like at the time it was public domain. Maybe it wasn't, but it seemed like that because it was like everywhere that you could get that VHS tape. And the tape we had was Godzilla. It was like a red around the sides of the VHS. And there's like a boot. I did the certified bootleg video. I remember watching that with, not Inframan. I love Inframan, but this was Jet Jaguar was in it. And despite its flaws, I do quite enjoy that film. A lot of its nostalgia, I will admit. That was the one that introduced me to Godzilla. This is one I watched the most as a kid, so a lot of nostalgia with that. And as years went on, like I liked the Godzilla 1998 film. It should not have been called Godzilla. It should have been called something else. But I still liked it. And then many years later, someone had sent me the Godzilla films. And I had reviewed them, but I took them down. Mainly because the guy who sent them, we had a bit of a rough patch. I won't get too much into. From what I remember, I guess what really set it off, which I know is really dumb, was I think he asked me about that film Rampage with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And I wrote, and I know I wrote this verbatim, because I read this 30 times. And there's nothing mean about it. It was just me being honest, because that was with The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. I was getting tired of him. Nowadays, a lot of people are tired of him. And I sat there and went, well, why do I want to watch a film where an albino gorilla gives The Rock the middle finger 2 times? No thanks. Which is what happens. A big albino gorilla gives the middle finger to The Rock more than once, because the clips were on YouTube. And then he got really upset about it. And I didn't understand it. I still don't understand it. But hey, it is what it is. You're not going to get along with everybody. Life's too short. It is what it is. But he'll never see this, but I still thank him because it was a very generous gift. And one thing that, still a very generous gift. I still have them. A lot of them were DVD-Rs. That was perfectly fine with me. And watch a lot of them for the first time during that. And it was a fun time. So getting back to this, yeah, I wasn't the Godzilla connoisseur, but there were ones I did quite enjoy. As some of my favorites became GMK, as I called the Dead-Eyed Godzilla, Godzilla versus the Smog Monster. I love the 70s trippy atmosphere, and I thought it did a lot of unique stuff and made it much more memorable. I really do like that one. Godzilla vs. Megalon, again, that's a nostalgia favorite. I like Son of Godzilla. That was another one that I saw early on VHS. It was one of the few. Godzilla vs. Megalon and then Son of Godzilla. So those two I would almost forgot about. Yeah, that one I watched a lot as a kid. Not a lot, but I watched that from time to time as a kid. It's like, I would say those are the first two Godzilla films I saw. Right Along was one, Son of Godzilla was two. Sadly, I think the third one was the one with the little kid. I always forget what the hell it's called. The one with the Son of Godzilla talks and the kid's his imagination and blah blah blah. That one sucked even back then. It still sucks now. Yeah, there's nostalgia with that one, but that one I'm not going to defend. But so anyway, I would say GMK, Godzilla vs. the Spot Monster, Megalon, like those are some of my favorites. So I don't have nostalgia. I didn't grow up with this film. I didn't see it when I was a kid. I saw this for the first time 10 or so years ago, give or take. And I still don't mind it to this day. Like, I didn't mind it back then. Just like I said, the two leads, I thought they had some decent chemistry with each other. I like the bit where the guy's testing the screen and he's going out the window and the other guy's freaking out. No, 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 don't do that, don't do that. What are you doing? And he's like ready to have a heart attack. Meanwhile, the submarine, by some really bad acting, I guess Americans, whoever they hired, really bad acting people, hit an iceberg, and that's where Godzilla comes back into the fray. Because I believe in the previous film, he was frozen in ice. I believe so. So what at least you know, the two leads go to the island, and there's a tribe of people there, and they're able to calm them down with a radio and cigarettes. They even gave a cigarette to a little fucking kid. And even though he said, this isn't right, but they still give the kid the cigarette. And the mom gets mad, but then she takes a cigarette. Which, do you imagine doing that film today? Like, here, give people, here's some cancer. Hey kid, here's a little bit of cancer for you too. It was just fucking... I will say it did make me laugh, though. I don't think it was meant to make me laugh, but it did make me laugh. Because I completely forgot about that. Give cigarette to a fucking kid. So I do like those two leads. Godzilla, I think, looks pretty good in this. I like the miniature work when he's attacking the military and the military is attacking it. I think those effects for 1962 are fairly decent. It's also interesting that when King Kong comes into the fray, they use like real octopus. Like they put like a real octopus among the miniature city, so that's why it's moving so realistic, because it's a real fucking octopus. Now I don't know if they hurt how many octopus they had, if they hurt any of them in real life. Hope not. Because it's not their fucking fault. If they leave me alone, stay in the ocean. Just leave me the fuck alone. And if that's the case, then just leave them alone. And if they got hurt or anything, then that's bullshit, but... Still interesting to see a real octopus used. But the look of King Kong blows. It's fucking awful. I think that's one of the issues even when I first saw this film, why this was never one of my favorites when I saw these all in a row, is because King Kong looks like shit. He does look like he is a guy in a monkey suit, gorilla suit. The face looks fugly, as in fucking ugly. There's not a lot of articulation on it. The bodysuit looks cheap as fuck. I'm like, that's the best you come up with a King Kong outfit? It just... Such a fucking letdown. It's like, I mean, I know this is 10 years later, you would have the Dino De Laurentiis King Kong, but there's parts like, man, I wish you took that King Kong, you put in this kind of movie. That's when you should have done it. This should have been done in like the 70s. Like the late 70s. Godzilla and King Kong. Then that would have been cool. Hell, I would have been fine if it was like an evil King Kong and the heroic Godzilla from those late 70s movies like Spawn Monster. then I would root for Godzilla in that. The new King Kong, I was pissed that King Kong lost so badly because I like that King Kong. I don't like the new Godzilla. Here, I'm like, let Godzilla win because he looks a lot better than King Kong. So it's funny. In this, you kind of gather that King Kong won. In the new one, you kind of gather that Godzilla won. I wish it was fucking reversed. I wish King Kong won the new one. I wish Godzilla won this one. Because this King Kong sucks. He does. There's nothing to him of interest. He looks like shit. He acts like shit. Looks like he got a thermometer up his ass. Godzilla kicking ass, attacking Arctic stations while fucking King Kong gets Bill Cosby'd by the tribe. Because they give him this shit that he drinks these tequila shots of whatever the hell the berries. They make him drowsy, but he does his tequila shots, and the tribe does the Bill Cosby on him, and he gets knocked the fuck out. And maybe they do stuff to him off screen that I don't need to see. Monkey pole, monkey love, I don't fucking know. I don't need to know it, I don't want to see it. But they Bill Cosby his ass. So they're driving him on this raft, and they got a bunch of explosives, and the boss of those two lead characters arrive, and he did some kind of goofy slapstick where he keeps almost hitting the detonator. No, stop. I thought the actors were into the scene, so while it was goofy and silly, I did chuckle and laugh, because I think the three were committed to what they were told to do, and they did a good job portraying that goofiness. But then the direction kind of weirdly shifts. Or, that's the wrong way to put it. King Kong's waking up. They blow up the raft, but King Kong's still alive and he's pissed. So now you're thinking, okay, he's going to wreck the ship. No. He roars, and then it fades to black. And then apparently he just fucking swam. I'm like, wait a minute. King Kong's looking at, wait a minute, where am I? You took my ass here. You try to blow me up. You're shooting at me. Why would he not attack the boat? Why would he not smash the boat? Why would he not... He would just turn around and swim to the mainland? I thought that was really fucking weird. And I didn't understand that. If you could explain to me, Michael, King... I know he's reviewed all these films. Please explain to me. If he ever sees the video. He's a very busy guy. Friend of mine who has reviewed all these movies. So again, while I don't mind the film, because like I said, I don't mind the two leads, the score, I cannot pronounce the guy's name, I would butcher it, but the composer did a fantastic job on these Godzilla movies. Wonderful job. That's why it was so strange that they took his music out for library music and such for the American version. That just dumbfounding to me. And these movies, they do have a charm to them with the miniature work and the practical effects and the suits and there's a great charm that goes a long way. Again, the look of Godzilla and the miniatures of the military, for its time and budget, pretty decent. But I said the issues is that really the King Kong stuff is kind of the less interesting stuff. More so like the suit, the way it looks, the way it acts, the fact he gets power from electricity, like lightning storms. And I'm like, why did they add this in? I guess they thought, well, Godzilla has the atomic breath, so King Kong needs something. And the fight at the end kind of sucks as well. That's another detriment. Like, the bits where Godzilla's attacking their Arctic station or Godzilla's attacking this train, those were decent. Those were fun. But the actual fight, like Godzilla, I guess it should be a good thing for me because I like Godzilla more in this. But he's just kidding the shit out of King Kong. King Kong's a pussy in this. King Kong doesn't put much of a fight. Their first meeting, Godzilla goes, and King Kong just burned up and then walks away. Kind of like, and then walks away like he's stoned or something. Or drunk. Or there's a bit where he's throwing rocks and doesn't do much shit. Then at one point, he grabs a lady, he gets drugged again. Bill Cosby again. And I picked him up with these fucking balloons that look ridiculous and tear him over. As if it was, what was that fucking Nintendo game? What was that Nintendo game where you had the balloons and you had to fucking... I can't remember. Damn it. There was an old Nintendo game, yeah, balloon. Anyway. The fight itself, King Kong's a pussy. Godzilla's kicking his ass. There's a bit where King Kong throws something and he trips. I don't know what the fuck he tripped on. He tripped over his own dick? He's like throws and then does a tumble and hits himself on the fucking rock on the ground, like a boulder on the ground while he's throwing something. He's like, does a tumbleweed and not once but twice he gets buried under rocks. And there's a point where the few bits of stop motion, King Kong goes up and Godzilla does like a fuck you kick, like fuck out of my way, you know. Like King Kong goes up and Godzilla's like, fuck off, you know, fuck you. I'm like, and then beat the shot with his tail. I'm like, just rip King Kong's head off. He's a fucking pussy. Buries him not once but twice in rocks. And just lightning hits him, and I guess he gets the quickening or something. You know, shots the shit out of his tail, throws him a little bit, pushes him into a building. Punches him a few, but it's like, wow, a little bit too little too late. And then they both crash the water and King Kong swims away. And then of course there was always that myth of, because there was some magazine back in the day that in the Japanese version Godzilla wins, but in the American version King Kong wins. That was never the case. There was never two endings. Now I think that could have been a cool idea. I think they should have done that with the new film. Granted, it would have cost more money. But man, how cool would it have been to go to a movie and be like, okay, who would win, King Kong or Godzilla? And if you watch this one, it's Godzilla winning. If you watch this one, it's King Kong winning. That would have been cool. That would have been a cool, not just marketing gimmick, but even at home, you Team Kong or you Team Godzilla. Like, that would have been cool to see, but you know, they don't want to do that. I get it. It costs money. Everything costs money. What can I tell you? I still think that would have been cool to see. Watch this again. How do I feel about this compared to King Kong versus Godzilla, the new one? I do more lenient. While I do have issues with this movie, I do give more leniency because number one, the time period was made in 1960s, early 60s, so the limit of technology they had compared to today. Number two, budget. The limitations of budget they had compared to today. So yes, I'm more lenient on a film like this because of that. I'm less lenient on a film that has all the money in the world and technology of the world at today's age. And when I saw King Kong vs. Godzilla, I'm like, I like King Kong. Not really a fan of this new Godzilla they have in these new movies. Just not a fan of his design. Seems like a fat ass. Seems like if Steven Seagal was a fucking Godzilla, it'd be the new one. That's what I looked at. If Steven Seagal was Godzilla, he'd be these new ones. Fucking fat ass. And I don't care. I like the humans in this movie. I like the two leads. like the one guy like trying to do the drumming and he doesn't want to do it, but he's got to do it because of the advertising, and that comes into play later when he's got to do this drumming. I like some of the characters in this one. Didn't give a shit about the characters. Billy Bobby Brown, don't give a fuck about her as a person. Don't give a fuck about her as a character, especially in those Godzilla movies. The guy that's with Billy Bob Brown trying to be funny and failing. The one guy who is like the boring Skarsgård. I'm like, can we have your dad, Stellan, instead? Not the boring one. And I know they're dumb movies, but at the same time it's like this hollow earth, and Godzilla is able to burn into the middle of the fucking earth, the hollow earth. I'm like, think about it. Godzilla just blew through half the earth. Imagine this is the earth. Time of breath, because the hollow earth is supposed to be in the middle. It blew a hole to there. Does it mean he could blow a hole and with enough time crack the fucking earth in half? Split. And King Kong's able to climb up in 5 minutes. The path of a fucking half the earth. And King Kong got his ass kicked, in my opinion. Got his ass fucking wrecked. Even with a fucking magic axe they stole from Thor, he fucking does that. I don't know. I'm like, God damn it. I can't help it. That's just how I work. That's just how my brain works, man. So I do wish they had a better King Kong suit outfit. I wish they had ponied up more extra cash to do the stop motion bit. I wish they could have got a better design and better effects on King Kong. I wish the fight was better and much more entertaining, much more back and forth, even. Keep it even. He just, like a wrestling match. I mean, you read up on it. Apparently, pro wrestling was a inspiration. Have some more equal back and forth. That's just me, though. And I also think this whole advertising bit, they could have even been a bit more wittier and more biting and satire with the advertising bit. Like maybe preemptively they get some drawings of King Kong. There's all these different drawings. They have like all these mock-ups and, I don't know. It feels like with the advertising bit, there could be even more biting satire that was left on the floor, sadly, that they could have done more with. But overall, I didn't mind the film. It's definitely better than the American version, and I could see how some people would have nostalgia over it. It just, like I said, the fight I think could have been a lot cooler, could have been a lot more fun, make it a bit more even. And, you don't have to give King Kong fucking electric powers. Have him be the smarter creature, using tools, and use buildings to, throw cars and throw stuff at Godzilla's head. And that's one thing I could say, in all fairness, the fight in the new movie is a better fight. Granted, they have the much bigger budget, so you just say that's not fair, but at least... Is it a better fight? Yes. It's a better fight in the new film. I will give you that. Because I'd be bullshitting if I said, no, the fight, this is better. That'd be bullshitting. So, it's just, there's other things. But, I don't mind the film. It's not my favorite of the group. Like I said, but it still has some charm to it as well. And a lot of the early Godzilla films still have a nice charm to them. Because of the suits, especially Godzilla's suits, and the roar and the music and all the stuff combined together. It was nice to watch this again as well. And it'd be nice to rewatch other Godzilla movies. It's been a while since I've seen them. But thanks once again, Bobby. Take care. And we'll see you later. Bye-bye.